guys that are the box office here, and yep, there's no new movies this week. There's gonna be one new movie next week. It's the 355. And again, that's be another one of the movies that works out for, because again, the Phantom Menace is going to talk about that movie, of course, because again, they talk about every new thing that comes out, and they'll probably prove the points that women can't be in movies. It's a completely ridiculous argument that women can't be starring leads in a movie if they aren't, of course, what I'm talking about. What they want in the movie. We basically agree. But Spider-Man No Way Home is still the highest grossing movie of the week. It'll probably be the highest grossing movie of next week. And possibly the week afterwards. So this is basically, this whole holiday weekend has been like a one movie stomp. So for Spider-Man No Way Home isn't really doing that well internationally compared to America. Of course, it's doing extremely well internationally for a movie released during a new wave of a new villain. Again, compared to when Black Widow came out, which again, the Phantom Menace is going to be using, oh, but COVID's the one good excuse. Again, when Black Widow came out, most countries didn't have half the population vaccinated, so that was much more of a concern back then. And let's not forget, it also released on a streaming platform, whereas Spider-Man No Way Home hasn't. Black Widow would have made probably like $500 to $600 million without Disney Plus, because Black Widow again didn't really have much fanfare because unlike Spider-Man No Way Home, which of course had all the leaks, which had all the Tobey Maguire fan was like, oh finally they're listening to us for once, breaking Tobey Maguire Spider-Man again. But the ratings are not really as great as you'd think they would be. It's just average ratings for a movie that, it's just average ratings for Spider-Man No Way Home, which this means it had the best ratings of any MCU movie of the year. Yeah, but the ratings are not extremely impressive like Star Wars was. Star Wars had extremely massive ratings, and this movie will obviously pass 700 million, but it's in its third weekend now, and it has passed $600 million domestically. I'm gonna probably do the dailies until, of course, it passes 700 million, which it most likely will pass it. If it had extremely good rigs, it would basically be full performing, or it'd be at the $700 million mark, but it has not beat the $700 million mark as well. And our all-time highest grossing movies, this is Spider-Man No Way Home, which, if this movie pans out, it will probably be the third highest grossing movie in history, which would be very impressive for this movie as well. Well, but there were other movies that came out we'll be talking about as well. Next is Sing 2, which is doing extremely well. Sing 2 is still in a loss still. It's at a $6 million loss at this current moment. Oh, around a $6 to $10 million loss. But Sing 2 is basically performing like the first movie, but it's not performing as well as the first movie, but it's still performing really well as well. Sesame Street is also coming out in a couple of weeks as well, which is a movie that will be stealing its audience away. Of course, Hotel Transylvania 4 won't count because it's only on Amazon Prime, and won't be taking away, any feeders away from Sing 2. So the next real competition for a movie like Sing 2 is, of course, Sesame Street. And of course, the next major animated film, of course, being Turning Red, which is coming out all the way in March. And because of the lack of movies that will compete with Sing 2 is doing the best of all the holiday releases in terms of rig-wise. It's doing better than Kingsman. It's doing better than all these other movies that released for the holiday season. And, you know, if we get the release schedule, we have the 355 Sesame Street is going to be a competition. And then we have no movies for younger audiences. There's that one movie about cats. But that movie might have been delayed, so. But our next major anime movie is Turning Red. So that means we'll have 2 years. Then, oh yeah, I think these people who made this movie, yeah. But yeah, the next major movie is, of course, Turning Red, animated movies, you know, and of course, then it'll be, notice that then it'll be the bad guys. Then DC's League of Super Pets. So there isn't really any animated movies released in 2022. Two. Next is the Kingsman. Okay. Oh yeah. No, I forgot that was right here. Next is the Kingsman, which is doing better than the Matrix. This movie is having pretty okay ratings. This movie is not gonna make money at all, but still having pretty okay ratings. It might rate out throughout the rest of the month because there's a couple major releases and that's it. But the Kingsman is not really doing too well at the box office. The movie made $19 million domestically and $28 million internationally. Again, this is extremely good ratings for a movie that opened at 9 million yen. So, next is American Underdog, which also beat the Matrix Resurrections, which, yeah, we haven't even talked about that movie yet. That's the hilarious thing. We haven't even talked about the Matrix yet, and this movie doing better than the Matrix, so, yeah. Next is, of course, finally the Matrix Resurrections, which is a big... This movie has a $195 million budget. Okay, so at this current point, so the 195 though, it needs to make around $380 million. So this movie's at a $280 million loss. That's a lot of money to lose on one movie. And its rigs are abysmal for a holiday release as well. Its rigs are abysmal. Okay, people have no interest on this. Of course, you have to factor in HBO Max, which will make it butter down to like 220 million or something like that. So that means the Phantom Menace will be like this movie will end around $150 million loss here. And other sort, but I think it will watch it could be like $130 million worldwide for this movie, which is abysmal for a franchise as legendary as The Matrix. Okay? And it really shows you that we really did not need a fourth Matrix movie. This is The Matrix Resurrections versus The Matrix and all of its sequels. Okay? We did not need a fourth Matrix movie. I think we can all agree on that. We did not need a fourth Matrix movie. They're like, oh my god, it's like this Hollywood is thinks of these ideas. Like, you know what? This movie did really well 20 years ago. Even though they ended the story, let's do it. I wouldn't be surprised in the next decade to make another Hunger Games movie that has nothing to do with the actual books, and no one's gonna watch it because they go, oh, but Hunger Games made millions of dollars back in the day, so let's make a new Hunger Games movie because, money. They're doing the same with Ice Age, but the Ice Age movie will be only on Disney Plus, so we don't have to, there. But a lot of the major anime movies are mostly appearing on streaming services, which really shows that modern animation has become somewhat of a joke right now because animated movies are just not doing well. Encanto failed, and it seems that the only successful animated movie of the year is Paw Patrol the movie and Sing 2. 2, and of course the Boss Baby with, of course, the help of Peacock, which is of course a streaming service, and yeah, next is West Side Story, another failure. This movie that has done horribly at the box office. $100 million budget, only made $47 million worldwide. There's no way they'll get Disney. Disney has took another L again. Disney has only had 2 successes this year, and they were back-to-back successes, which was Free Guy and Shang-Chi. And Shang-Chi wasn't really a massive success like everybody thought it was. It only was a small success, alongside Free Guy was only a small success as well because of China's box office. So either way, Disney has basically just lost money this year. They lost money on Marvel. I'm talking about actual box office successes because again, Black Widow could technically be considered success if you include Disney Plus sales. Wire bombed even with Disney Plus. Cruella bombed even with Disney Plus. Actually, Cruella did okay, but then we got onto the later part of the Eternals, of course, Encanto, which we haven't even talked about Encanto yet. Next is Ghostbusters Afterlife, which people just don't seem to get this. Ghostbusters Afterlife is doing better financially than Ghostbusters 2016. The movie has made it out of the red a long time ago, and this movie will make money, unlike Ghostbusters 2016. It seems that people just don't get this. Yes, the movie will do worse domestically because Ghostbusters Afterlife did have technically worse rigs than Ghostbusters 2016, but it's still doing pretty well at the box office. This, despite being over a month old already, despite being almost a month old, 2 months old, this movie's still doing really well at the box office compared to Ghostbusters 2016, which it is actually catching up to Ghostbusters 2016 at the box office. So it is actually catching up to 2016 at the box office as well, because Ghostbusters 2016 had abysmal legs compared to Afterlife, which it is gonna catch up to Ghostbusters 2016, whether if fans of Ghostbusters 2016, the 5 people who actually like the movie, like it or not. So, and even then, yes, the movie did abysmally internationally, which is a problem for the Ghostbusters Afterlife and the Ghostbusters franchise. Ghostbusters is not popular outside of America, okay? It is not popular outside of the USA, which is a problem, which is shown by its box office sales. Yes, we like Ghostbusters, but Europe doesn't really care. China doesn't care. Japan doesn't care. Brazil doesn't care. No one really cares about Ghostbusters outside of America, okay? And the rigs were not really that great compared to other movies. Next is Licorice Pizza, was another indie film, which, again, will probably nominate for an Oscar, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, we get it. Journal for Jordan, Sony Pictures. Another flop from Sony Pictures, which is no surprise. It's trying to go for one specific demographic, and yeah, no one cares, basically. And the last movie is Encanto, which Encanto, despite Disney's every chance to save this movie is a flop. It is a failure, okay? And this movie is not going to make money. It needs to make around $240 to $250 million to even break even, to even, and of course, to not even go to profitability, which is like 20 million farther than break even point, but, to not be a financial failure. Because Ghostbusters Afterlife had a lot of merchandise that, sold pretty well. And again, Ghostbusters Afterlife did pretty well in America. But Encanto, I don't know, actually break even point is like $250 million for Encanto. Actually, the budget's $450 million, so $300 million for Encanto needs to break even, and the movie is not even at $300 million, which means if we compare this to Moana and Coco, Encanto is just bombing. I think Disney needs to warn that, oh my god, let's try to appeal towards these demographics, and even those demographics don't care about this movie, because again, Disney thinks that, we're all so woke, our movies are masterpieces because we're all so woke, and their movies just bomb. I won't be surprised that 2022 is yet another abysmal year for Disney at the box office as well. Well, which is, not surprising. Next is Nightmare Alley, which again, is a failure by Guillermo del Toro, which again, Nightmare Alley is not a popular franchise, which is the main reason why it bombed. House of Gucci, again, Ridley Scott, this movie has done really well. If you would not consider this movie as an $80 million budget, and this was a low-budget movie, this movie would have been a massive success. But they spent $80 million on this movie, which, for that reason, it is a flop. Okay? Which I faced upon when I first thought, I was like, yeah, you gotta be kidding me. You go, United Release could have one major success of the year, but they blew it by spending too much money on the movie. I think that's a problem. Sometimes companies spend too much money on a movie and then it bombs. And then they and then they're blaming on, the audience. Oh, audience is racist and sexist because we spent $200 million on a movie, $300 million on a movie that no one watched. Okay? Or $80 million on a movie that, had a small audience that we would think were done. And yeah, that's basically about the box office. Goodbye.